Hey there. First of all, sorry for the terrible microphone quality. I had a nice microphone I was going to use today, and there was an incident, and so you're going to have to put up with this one. Um, so what I've been working on this week is perfecting a user interface for a Resto Shaman, specifically in small group or raiding situations. So I had a couple of ideas about that. The first is that um, everything should be keybound. The reason for that is because as a healer, you're going to spend most of your time with your mouse over either a raid frame, um, or you're going to be using it, for navigation or camera or things like that, and you're not going to have the time to be clicking on the spell and then back to the raid frame and then back to the spell and so on. Um, so that's why you want to have everything keybound. But also because if you use Mouseover macros, this lets you um, cast spells uh, while moving and without having to select a raid frame. Um, in order to do that, you have to set it up a couple of things, or at least this is how I chose to do it. So going into key bindings, go to the top. Alright, so for movement, I do this a little bit differently. So I still have move forward with W, strafe with Q and E. However, I've added some things. So to move backward, I have that bound to the middle mouse or scroll wheel. And then to strafe left and right, I have this bound to the two extra mouse buttons that my particular mouse has. And what this lets you do, this lets you have a ton of control over your movement in a way that using just the keyboard would not. And also because I have the ability to navigate using only my mouse, I can now use these Mouseover macros while moving, which is pretty slick. So now to jump right into Mouseover macros. Wow, that didn't work. Alright, guess I can't spell. Let me give you a couple of examples really quick. I'm trying to be mindful of the time, and I don't want you to get bored. So this is an example of a beneficial Mouseover macro. So what it does, it shows the tooltip for Healing Wave, which means that if I hover over Healing Wave, it will display the tooltip accordingly. This next part is the actual cast, and it has a couple of conditions that it runs through in order of priority. So this first one means that if I have a Mouseover that is friendly and not dead, it will do this. The second condition applies if this one cannot be met. So if this can't happen, then it will cast Healing Wave on a friendly target that's not dead. And then this last part will apply if neither of these can be met, and it will simply cast Healing Wave on me, which is player. And so the way a Mouseover works, if you are not familiar with that, is it lets you cast a spell on a target without selecting either their unit frame or the character itself. And it also means you don't have to deselect your current target, which is extremely useful. Let me quickly give you two examples of harmful Mouseover macros. These are the two that I find most useful. So this one is for Lightning Bolt, and what it does is it casts Lightning Bolt. Again, in a similar vein, it will cast it. Try to cast it first on my Mouseover if it's an enemy that is not dead. If that can't happen, it will simply cast it on an enemy target that's not dead. And if neither of those can be completed, it will cast it at my focus target. And the reason why I have it set up that way is because generally I will have a high priority target or a target with a lot of health set as my focus rather than a friendly target. This lets me continue to cast on friendly targets and also be casting lightning bolt on the enemy target to regenerate mana through telluric currents. And then the second one I'll show you is wind shear. It's very similar. The only difference really is that it has a stop casting component, which means that if I'm in the middle of casting a spell, it will halt that and immediately cast wind shear on whichever one of these conditions can be met, and you can see what those conditions are here. So actually all of these spells have Mouseover components or target components or focus components, things like that. And that's, if you try it out, you'll see for yourself why that's extremely useful. Let me quickly describe how I've chosen to set up these keybinds because I think it's kind of unique and probably the most efficient way that I've found ever to do this. So in a previous setup I had used Control and Alt as modifiers, but I found that in theory that seemed like a good idea because you have more possibilities for keybinds. However, in practice it's pretty terrible actually. And I definitely would not recommend that for the majority of your spells which you keybind. However, what I have set up here is, I think, pretty efficient. So what I tried to do is keep the keybinds to spells, or to keep the keybinds to keys that are close together and easy to press, so that you can, easily navigate and easily press the keys without any discomfort or inefficient stuff. So the way I set it up is my main healing spells are bound to A through H. I have more spells bound to Shift A through H, and the reason I use Shift is because it's the easiest modifier to use. These next two rows are my totems, some of my totems. 1 through 5 are totems that I use a lot or have short cooldowns, and then Shift 1 through 5 are totems that have longer cooldowns or that are pretty situational. And the reason I add Shift is because using a modifier increases the, I guess you could say, difficulty of actually pressing the key, and that's important for things that you only want to use intentionally and you don't want to use accidentally. And then I have more keybinds here. This is Z through V, and then Shift Z through V. These are spells with very long cooldowns, so this would be the shortest with 2 minutes, going all the way up to 5 minutes for some of the other ones. And I have bound these to the 6 keys above the arrow keys, so insert, home, page up, delete, and page down. That's so that I don't accidentally press them. And as you know, these 6 keys are pretty out of the way of everything. Over here, I have a couple of macros and consumables bound to the number keys. I'm sorry, the arrow keys. So this is an all-in-one macro to do Berserking, Spirit Walker's Grace, and Ascendance. This is to use a Health Stone, Stormlash Totem, and Master Mana Potion. I have some other things up here, but they're really not as important. I guess the ones that would actually be quite important are Ghost Wolf, which I bound to Caps Lock, and Earth Living Weapon and Water Shield, which are bound to comma and period respectively. Bags up here, but hidden. Same with micro menu and extra mounts. Um, these are macros that I find useful in raids, and I have them bound to the number pad. So this one here is for help. If I need help and I can't communicate through vent or mumble or something, then I can at least spam this and hope that somebody's paying attention. These colored gem icons are macros to place the raid markers, and having them key bound lets me place them even while I'm moving, because as I'd mentioned earlier, my mouse, I have a strafe bound to my mouse, so you see right now I'm using my mouse to move, and now I can also place raid markers and remove them quickly. These three at the bottom are Dbm timers of 5, 7, and 10 seconds.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Courtesy of the delightful Dbm woman. Let's see, quickly. Yes, I have my character's frame over here and small because most likely I'm not going to be in Resto except for in a group setting. And in that case, I will be referencing the raid frames, which will be in this area. So it's kind of redundant, to have this, blown up to full size or whatever. Down here is simply my mana pool. And I believe the icon, what is that? It is, let's see here, I think it's Rage Bar. Yes, it's the Rage Bar add-on, which as a healer you can have it display your mana. It's very nice. Alright, I think that's pretty much it. So now I'm going to get into combat and show you a couple things. I always like to hide my mini-map to make it cleaner in combat. Do keep in mind that I'm not 100% used to all of these keybinds yet, but I'm working on it. So I like to keep the tank as my target, and then I will set an enemy target as my focus, like you see here. Then using my lightning bolt macro, oops, that is not the right spell. Using my lightning bolt macro, I can cast on it without deselecting my target. Let's try that again here. Alright, that's working much better. I'm going to do one more wave because it's the wave with the Hive Singer, and I want to show you my Wind Shear macro in use. It's very cool. Alright, so I want Odo as my target. Check. Now I'm going to set the Hive Singer as my focus.
Illusionary Hive Singers. Their sonic waves will harm us all.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt it when it casts Sonic Blast, like you see there. I interrupted the cast with that macro that I showed you earlier. Yeah, you can pretty much imagine how it would play out from here. It may not be an ideal setup, but I think for most people it's going to be an improvement over what they have been using. So I hope it's been helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know, and have a good day.